Welcome to the FPAW 2022 commentary. I'm James Wiseman, and with me is Turri, and we are watching the Open Pairs Pool B quarterfinal. And we are going to start with our first routine, which is Angela Marìa, Avendano Rubio, and Katy Gimma. So this team is another mismatch where Katy is mostly clock and Angela is mostly counter. They're going to start out with a clock throw, really nice form and that grapevine pass, and Katy goes for the bosis but drops it. Right into a UD clock, doesn't quite work. That's a tough drop. More UD, really dangerous to do so much UD so early, but Katy hits a beautiful heel tip pass, goes for the roll but drops it.
I love that Angela can use both hands to throw the disc really hard and with much spin.
Yes. And her form is absolutely incredible.
Top notch.
Especially for such a new player. Good behind the back. Okay, here's some counter. Nice on the leg into an invert. Wow, it looks maybe that was a Nifa or something. That was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Consecutive foot taps. Katy's one of the best rollers in the world already. 2 consecutive rolls into a nice behind the back. More UD. They can't get enough UD in this routine. Didn't quite work again though.
That's hard to take. Beautiful.
Wow, beautiful roll. These UD takes are just not quite working. Ooh, the roll right into the delay.
Very clean.
There we go. That's that nice UD throw to the take.
Great take, yeah.
Pass back. Looks like she wanted to do a roll or maybe an elbow trap. Didn't quite get it.
Good decision of taking out breath, watching each other. Like, this is the throw we want.
Going for the beautiful barrel, but doesn't quite get it. Leprechaun kick, straight into another kick. That's super hard.
30 seconds.
Another UD. Wow. The one difficulty. Taking it easy. They're having fun.
10 seconds.
Roll didn't quite work. I do like how they're playing to their strengths. So Katy's showing off a lot of her rolls and kicks, and Angela's showing off a lot of her elongated form. So what do you think, Edo?
It's the first team of the Pool B, and as you said, I love that both showed their strength. Like, you can see how consistent Katy is already, and her beautiful rolls, and Angela with long legs and great extension. I think they tried too hard on the UD, which is like cool because they wanted to do a trick and they did it in the end. So
yeah, I would definitely cut back on the UD. I think UD is kind of a siren's call when you're building a routine. Everyone wants to put it in. They're thinking like, oh, we need a variety, we need to mix it up. And you definitely need some, I don't know if you need, but it's definitely a good idea to have some UD in a routine. But it not only is very risky because it leads to more drops like we saw here that are either right off the throw or really early in the combo, which can be really difficult drops to overcome, but it also slows the routine down a lot. It's hard to do too much UD. I mean, usually when you get a UD throw, there's only 3 or 4 things you can do with it, and it's going to take you 2 or 3 times longer than you would right side up. So it's something you want to use really sparingly. But when you have like 6 or 7 UD combos, it's really tricky, especially if you don't plan them. I mean, I can imagine a really cool routine planned around upside down, but you'd have to be really thoughtful about it, or else it can get a little bit scary.
Siete pronti?
Okay, next team is Andrea Meola and Matteo Feller,
Siete pronti?
2 players from Milan, so they know the spot, they know the wind, they know the grass, and they have a huge experience together. And both clock players, but can deal with counter really easily.
At some point they have a dropless routine. It might be this one, but I guess we'll find out. I think this is definitely a sleeper team. They did really, really well the whole tournament, and they got really far. And I don't know if everyone had them on their radar. But Andrea Meola is a world champion, a fantastic player. We just haven't seen him in a long time. But Matteo Feller played incredibly well, and I think he was a surprise to some people who maybe hadn't seen him in a long time, or maybe haven't even heard of him.
Yeah.
But this is like we saw with Matteo Guidoni in Valerio, just a really flowy routine. It looks so comfortable. And they have some really incredible dip moments. I mean, even that's a really hard invert turnover pass to his partner.
Yeah. I think both
good brush runs.
both are really good at being clean and doing the right set at the right moment. So it's really easy to play with both of them. I played very much with Matteo Feller as he comes to over it often. And yeah, as you said, Andrea is a world champion and they know each other. So.
It's a beautiful combo. They do a good job of having multiple exchanges in the same co-op, which is really important. A lot of teams you only have maybe 1 or 2 exchanges per co-op, but they're really good at having 3, 4, or 5 exchanges in the same co-op, which really adds to the flow, adds to the teamwork, and gives you that nice high disc score.
Exactly, and they're not easy passes.
Playing well to the music. No, I mean, there's a soul brush pass, tap back, brush, tap, classic combo.
Yeah.
Good back roll under the leg. Both clock and counter, and really significant clock and counter. They're both obviously very comfortable with both spins, and it shows. I like how Andrea played with the music there, timing his moves with the chords in the song.
Yeah.
Wow, double.
Do you think they marked the disc with the black things to see the spin better?
I think a lot of people really like the visual of having the marks on the disc that you can see it spinning. I think it really helps, especially people who've never seen freestyle, understand what's happening, because it's sort of surprising, but a lot of people don't realize the disc is spinning until they see
That's true.
the black marks like that. That was great. I do think, based on having watched this routine at least twice, that it was a routine, and they have that same value that Matteo and Valerio have, where it's so smooth and so flowy and so relaxed that it looks a lot like a jam, but it actually is very choreographed, and that also explains how you can have these 4 or 5 exchange co-ops, because it takes a lot of practice to put those together and consistently hit them. But overall, I thought that was a great routine. What do you think, Edo?
Yeah, it was a fun show. It was many things to the music, very good variety, very flowy. I know how they play, and it looks like a very enjoyable jam. And yeah, I think they did a really good job.
Sì? Musica.
This is Claudio, Cigna, and Manuel, Cesari. This is a big throwback team for me. These were 2 of the best players in the world when I started in 2009, 2010. Yeah, this is a team that easily could have made a run to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
I think they had a little bit of a rough time in later rounds, but I mean, skill for skill and in terms of routine building, these are two of the best players in the world.
Absolutely.
I think they were just kind of cooling out or taking off a little bit of rust from having not played for a long time, but we're already seeing some incredible moves. I mean, there's a beautiful neuron pass from Manu to Claudio, and most teams would have just caught it there, but they actually continue the co-op, which is very difficult to do, especially with such low spin upside down. Now there they kind of lose it a little bit. And this is where you can kind of see the rust, like the throws aren't exactly where they want them to be, and they're kind of forced to save the disc more than they might normally want, which gets them a little bit off on the routine. But what they're trying to do is so difficult, and this is definitely a level up in difficulty in terms of what we've seen so far for the most part.
Yeah.
Right, here's a combo Claudio made famous, which is the double spinning flat consecutive pulls. It might be something that Dave Lewis did more often back in the day, but I think for the newer players, it's definitely a Claudio signature.
And still great form by Claudio.
Yeah.
It's insane. Great spinnings.
They both throw so much spin too. That was a great UD throw. Double leg over with the leg super high.
30
Change the
secondi,
spin.
30 secondi.
Yeah, I thought that was a spin change. Good kick. See, this is where they kind of lose a lot, where Manu's just having a little bit of trouble keeping that brush run consecutive, and he's relying a lot on more basic brushes. But here we go. This is another signature Claudio double leg over combo. Ah, he goes for a signature catch, doesn't quite get it. That's maybe the most famous picture in freestyle is Claudio going for that catch.
I think it's the first time I see Claudio dropping it.
I know. Ah,
Wow.
they do get that nice
That was a great
double
finish.
disc combo.
Claudio, Cigna, Manuel, Cesari.
Yeah, overall that was really good. I think that must have been better than what their finals performance was, because that was actually pretty strong. But you could see the rust. It was definitely uncharacteristically a little bit rough around the edges, but still like another level of difficulty. Most teams didn't try stuff that hard, and that's just them being two fantastic players.
Yeah, you can see the expertise, at least 2 decades of building routine, being with Clay Colera, one of the top player back in the days. They probably built the routine 2 hours before, and that was what came out, which is pretty incredible if you think about it. But again, they know each other from a long time, and they probably took some of the tricks they had in the older routines. They just put it back together to a new music, and yeah, the difficulties there. They had some drops, but it was still pretty clean. Good variety, even if it's mainly clock, and yeah, great routine from them.
Absolutely.
Okay, next team is Alice Zenatti and John Titcomb. Alice is from Rovereto, Italy, and John Titcomb is from Seattle. They're bringing a message of peace with their routine. They decided to play together on the spot.
I remember watching this one in real time, and I think they have a lot of struggles, which is not super surprising. The wind is really challenging, the dust is really challenging, and these aren't the highest skilled players at the World Championship, but I thought they had just a really good feeling and just were really having a good time and relaxed about it. And I was actually really impressed with Alicia throughout the tournament. She's clearly gotten a lot better, and she was such a pleasure to jam with, and I think she's going to show a lot in the coming years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now they're moving to the regular disc, Sky Styler, I think, anyways. Actually, that's not a Sky Styler.
Yeah, that's a Sky Styler.
A blue one?
No, it's Alice painted it with an image on the top.
Got it.
Yeah. And yeah, you're totally right. I think Alice is learning many skills, and she's gonna show them in the coming years and tournaments. I think it was.
Yeah, that was a really great scarecrow from John Titcomb there. I was pretty impressed with that.
Yeah. I also didn't know that you could use the whiz ring in competition. That's cool.
I believe they actually asked about that, and I think we checked and it was okay in the judging manual or something, but they got permission for it.
Wow. Nice take.
Chicken wing upside down clock, really cool. Good roll. Good deal, John. Great catch. Yeah, so she's playing clock and counter really well.
Nice. And she has many good catches. She probably doesn't show here in this round, but she's becoming a really good player.
Good save. They also have a lot of UD as well.
Yeah. I think it's a good way as not top player to get some difficulty and some variety.
Yeah, I can see how for top higher skill teams, UD is kind of dangerous because it takes a lot of time, is relatively risky, and doesn't have necessarily as much diff as other stuff they can do. But for less skilled players, UD is really powerful because it takes up so much time.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more difficult than everything else they're doing. And although the risk is really high, the reward makes it worth it.
Nice.
That was a really cool double scarecrow. It actually looks like it was pretty successful.
Yeah.
So that's a very cool ending. They definitely would have choreographed that.
Yeah.
But overall, given the skill level of these players and putting together a routine at the last minute in kind of a windy day in a dusty field, that's pretty good, and I think they should be happy about it. It definitely had a good feeling. Like sometimes when you have a team that doesn't have as many skills and they go out and they have a bad round, it can feel really bad. But for them, it felt really good and really a positive experience, and I think they'll be pretty happy with how it went.
Yeah, absolutely. They showed many skills on their level, and last catch was really surprising, and it's actually really hard. It's higher difficulty than it looks. And they had good brushing at the beginning, clock and counter, different catches, good cooperations too, and I hope they have a good feeling.
Musica.
Okay, this is Dario, Marinoni, and Bellaj.
Fun fact, I was filming during this round because Chris was supposed to play, so if anything happens with the camera and players are not in the frame, it's because of me. So
Wow, great back roll.
nice, yeah.
Really high risk brush run. So this is another team with, Chris is not quite as skilled as a lot of the other players. Super great guy, really helpful to our organization efforts. And it's really awesome to see him compete and go out there and just have fun and not worry about the results. But they actually show a great deal of difficulty here. So they're doing a lot of super risky brush moves and brush co-ops, and those are always really exciting and hard to pull off, but they're doing a pretty good job with it.
Absolutely, and it's great to see that Dario is mainly clock and Chris instead is mainly counter, and they still manage to play together, to have some cooperation and not just throwing each other the spin they want and doing solos after solo, but they're also doing some cooperation, which is really good, really cool to see.
I like that spinning take Dario did off of Chris's throw. Doesn't quite get the chair though.
Yeah.
And this is another situation where Chris is more comfortable counter and Dario is more comfortable clock. But they do a good job of kind of working with that because I hardly noticed that they're primarily different spins from each other.
Yeah.
Going for a big scarecrow.
30 secondi, 30
I think here
secondi.
they're starting to feel the dust under the disc, and it's getting harder and harder to do rim delays and sets and everything. Nice being the head catch.
Tipping combo. Oh, going for a
10
spinning catch.
secondi,
Doesn't
10
quite work.
secondi.
Last combo.
Time. E si salutano,
Yeah,
si
I think it usually is a
salutano
good
Dario,
decision to
Marinoni
stop
e Chris,
after you have a
Bellaj.
drop right around time. So, you know, not the best routine, but again, another routine where it could have felt really bad, but I think they kept the energy high and they kept it moving, had a good time, and they still showed a lot of cool stuff. Those were some good brush runs, and they navigated clock and counter really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see people from the organization and like Chris, who's always taking care of the streaming, who's also be able to have fun and compete no matter what and show off his move. Like he got some move, and yeah, it's great to have people like him.
Okay, this is Andrès Rivera and Pablo Andrés Mosquera. And I think this is the first time in my life I've seen Pablo's full name.
Are you ready?
Most of us know him as Pablo Azul.
Musica.
So this team ended up getting third place in the World Championship. They were superstars the whole time, and definitely at Worlds this year, Andrès Rivera had his coming out party, and I think if anyone didn't know before, they now know he's one of the best players in the world.
Absolutely.
Great quick catch start, hitting the music, and they put in really difficult catches there. A lot of times with quick catch or speed flow, people do easier catches, but they went all in and got a lot of difficulty right off the bat.
Yeah. They both look so confident, and Andrés gets up the difficulty in a way that no one else does, and great forms.
Yeah, so far really clean, beautiful guidance. They both have good form. They both are just super powered players. Cool co-ops.
Very old school.
Yes. Nifa, that's like the goatest of Nifa. It's like a standing Nifa. Pretty cool.
It's really hard with the timing.
There's the first drop I've noticed. Good drop though, it was clean.
Nah.
It goes for that. I think they call that like voleo or something. That's a cool move. He did hit that in the finals.
Yeah. With a triple spinning barrel then.
Yeah. Wow, beautiful.
Good save. Good execution roll.
They're both also really good at clock and counter, and they're just seamlessly moving between both of them in a way that's really impressive.
Great throw.
Power upside down helicopter. They both have great rolls too.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
this is that scarecrow brush. I think part of it was the audience was in the way. Some good tips. Grapevine tip. Nice set. Boom, big fly.
Nice. Really good, Pablo. Great take, Katy.
I like Andrés's upside down, holding the angle. That's really difficult. Doesn't quite get the turbo fake though. I really like how drops just kind of wash off them. They don't seem to mind. They don't get hung up on them. They just drop it and they keep moving.
Beautiful form.
Wow.
40 seconds, 40
The guidance
seconds.
pulls are a big signature in Colombia. A lot of players really like them, and Andrés has some of the best, especially in terms of his form. His are more like
10
Fleming
seconds,
guidance
10
pulls, which
seconds.
really gives him the nice elongated leg.
Yeah.
Eh,
Andrés
Wow.
spins are really
Time! Bellissima!
His form
Chiusura
on the
sul
double
tempo.
barrel is
Pablo
so perfect. His
Azul,
legs are
Andrés Rivera
completely
dalla
outstretched,
Colombia.
and he holds the form for a really long time throughout the spin. That's an amazing, amazing player and an amazing routine. Really exciting to see both of them.
As you said, like drops seems to not hurt them at all. They had some mistakes, but it didn't really matter. Execution, it's a non-factor watching this routine. Like it's really super fun to watch, high difficulty, good forms. I personally see Andrés as like the one who pushed throughout all the rounds most. Nothing to take away from Pablo. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just very excited to see Andrés coming in, and I knew he was a great player. Everyone talked about him in a really good way, but like he is so surprising with all the moves he has, all the confidence he brings, and yeah, he's just a great player.
Yeah, I think some of it is to kind of throw a little bit more light on Pablo. I think part of why so many of us are reacting so strongly to Andrés is, like you said, we haven't seen a lot of him. He has been in Colombia and he doesn't get to go to a lot of tournaments, where we've all seen Pablo a lot more. So I think if this is our first time seeing Pablo, we'd also be like, wow, I cannot believe all the incredible stuff he's doing, but we're a little bit more used to it because they are both super strong, super top players. And that's an amazing routine. The only thing I would say for them to reach the next level, although they made the podium of Worlds, they could certainly have won Worlds easily with that routine, is right now their routine relies a lot on their difficulty to have the big exciting moments, which is great because they have a lot of difficulty. But I think the next step for them will be having the moments that rely on the routine, or like something about the music or like the co-op makes it a super big wow moment even without the diff. So like that's something that Paul Kenny, for instance, is really good at. Like even if he can build wow moments without difficulty, and if you can have both wow moments with difficulty and wow moments without difficulty, then you're basically unbeatable. And I think that's going to be the final piece for them to be the favorites every year at Worlds, because they have everything else and they basically bullied their way into the podium and easily could have won based on how they performed all weekend. Okay, this is, I'll get these names wrong, Elad, Kahalon, and Roy Mizrahi. These are two Israeli players. I've actually talked a little bit with Elad before this tournament, at this tournament. He's really fired up, and I remember being really excited about the routine. This is an example of a team who have a little bit lower skills. They're newer players, but they absolutely maximize them, and they totally get how to build a routine. So they start out with this speed flow, really consistent. They are nailing those catches, and right on the music, big high Z clock throw.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's the first tournament, and it looks like they had so much experience with building routines, as you said. They probably did many like Kovahat in Israel, organized by Ayal or Dan Lusty and the Israel Jammers. But still, it's super great to see both of them with such a good variety of catches, being very consistent with all the catches and being very solid throughout all the things they show.
Yeah, and you can see aspects of their game that are already really developed. So earlier, Elad did a flamingo with really almost picture perfect form, and you can tell that once these players develop more, they're going to be just very clean, flowy, good formed players. Very relaxed, very calm, good lacer attempt with both feet on the ground.
And I really like how they built their routine. Like here the solo fits really well to the music without many instruments. And before, when the drums still had to come in the music, they had the quick flow session. Either they're musicians and they really get good how the music works with freestyle frisbee, or they had some insight like from Ayal, who's really good at creative routines.
Yeah, I did kind of wonder if Ayal or Dan had a role in kind of coaching them, because like you said, they seem so experienced and so comfortable with what they've done here. But hey, it might just be a credit to them. Great chair, great chair. Good elbow tip.
Really clean.
So one thing that's smart is, I think because they're a little bit less skilled, they're keeping it slow and they're not forcing themselves to rush. So they are planning to give themselves
15
enough
seconds,
time to
15
react when
seconds.
things don't go quite the way they expect.
10 seconds, 10 seconds.
A little bit of hesitation.
Oh, going for a double grapevine.
Time.
I like that. I don't know if I've ever
Thank
seen
you,
a double grapevine
Elad
before. That's pretty cool.
from Israel.
It was a great round. I mean, it
Grazie,
was
ragazzi,
very
grazie.
clean in general, even though they had drops, but they were mainly drops on the catch. So the full trick was there. Everything they wanted to show, they showed. So it doesn't hurt so much, like you personally during the round and the judging system. And one thing I would tell them about building routines, like they had many throws on very good music cues, and I would rather doing big catches or like good catches on those music cues instead of the throw, which is like, of course, you know the music and there's a routine and you're showing it, but a catch on the music hits much better the audience, and it affects better the scores in the judging system.
Definitely. I wonder if some of those were they made a mistake, so they missed the catch on the music, so then they were doing the next best thing, which is if you miss your catch, then you should be trying to put your throw on the music. But I totally agree. But overall, that's a great example of working within your skill set and coming up with the best possible routine you can. So I'm excited to see what they do in the future, and I think they should be really happy with how they performed at their first Worlds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you ready?
So now we have Benjamin Edelmann and Oliver
Musica.
Peters. I don't know if it's Peters or Peters, but so this team, they actually played their routine one time, and there was a huge gust of wind that pretty much knocked down all of the tents in the judging system. So they did the smart thing, which is they said, let's redo it. You're allowed to do that in the rules. And this is their second run through, which is a little stronger than their first. So here it is. These are two really skilled players that are starting to get more serious about competition. They've clearly put a lot of thought into this routine. Playing to a famous song from the 80s that's gotten popular again from the TV series Stranger Things. And they both have just a complete game. You see rolls, technical moves, great throws. They post bands, they really know what they're doing.
Yeah, I was right about to say they're both very technical players. I love their style, and I'm really glad they're playing together. Huge Z's.
Yeah, Beto's got some of the best throws in the world, and probably ever.
Some flat work. Unfortunately, missed it.
Big UD. I remember this routine having a lot of upside down and it working pretty well. So there's a nice UD pass. Doesn't quite get the flamingosis.
Yeah, another UD, that's right. But I think it also fits kind of good the music right now. Like it's quite chill, nothing rushed, nothing. So it's good to take some time with some UD. Buying some time for the big catch.
Big barrel. first part of amphibian right into that invert. Really nice. Great control.
It was really hard. Nice spinning flood.
Wow, finds that flood. Yeah, it was a tough set, but he kind of slid into it. It's really good. Old school hoop.
Yeah.
Smart.
Very good decision.
I wonder if Oliver was... Yeah, I think Oliver was supposed to brush that out to Benno, but he made the right choice to just catch that. Smooth co-op.
Oh, pity. I think there you can see gusty wind and going up and down.
Yeah, they definitely have the hardest win. Probably the whole
15
tournament,
seconds.
honestly. Big Benno set to
5
his...
seconds.
Through his hoop to Oliver's catch.
Oh,
Time.
they unfortunately called the 5 seconds after they called the last one, so I guess they got a little bit of deduction, but it was a really good routine overall.
Yeah, and it got him to the next round, which is the most important thing. And they showed just an incredible amount of difficulty. Like you said, it was very controlled and calm and relaxed, and two absolutely monster players who I think are going to be making lots of splashes in tournaments coming up. And it's just exciting to see what they're going to do.
Yeah, look forward to see them more often and to see more from them. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in and watching with us the Open Pairs quarterfinals. Remember to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for all the other rounds and divisions.